Welcome to the show, everybody. Sorry for the delay. A lot to pull together from last night's embarrassment in losing to the San Francisco 49ers. Now, when I say embarrassment in losing to them, I don't mean, if the Eagles lost to the 49ers by like 3 points, a last-second touchdown, or it was a knockdown, drag-out type of fight. That would be embarrassing. No, that would be a hard-fought game, and the Eagles came up on the losing end of it. This was a dominating performance by the San Francisco 49ers. And of all the things, if I would have left Friday's show and predicted words I would use to describe even if the Eagles lost, I would not have predicted I would use the word embarrassing. And that performance against that team yesterday at Lincoln Financial Field was embarrassing. And I don't feel like that's at all a hot take. I feel like a lot of the people in that locker room feel like they were embarrassed in that game. When you look like you don't even belong on the same field as your opponent, and you allow your opponent to score 6 consecutive touchdowns, you don't belong on the same field as that team. And ladies and gentlemen, do not do the excuses game. I don't want to hear about even particular play calling. I don't want to hear about referees. I don't want to hear about fatigue. I don't want to hear about all these little buzzwords that people have been throwing out there. Brian Johnson sucks. Yeah, but you know what? Even if Brian Johnson was awesome, and I've still been on the side of he's getting too much blame anyway, even if Brian Johnson was awesome, you're still not winning that game yesterday. The team was terrible. Yesterday on postgame, we're trying to nitpick these things. This was bad, that was bad, this was bad, that was bad. It's like, keep going. It's a laundry list of horrific things the Eagles tried to do in that game. Horrific. Outmatched, outclassed, outplayed. And you can talk about Sean Desai as a defensive coordinator, what he should have done with his linebackers, and Seth Joyner was going into that tenfold on the postgame show yesterday. Tenfold. And the whole time, and I said this, the whole time I'm thinking, you're not going to put Christian Ellis in a better position to make a play. Christian Ellis doesn't know how to put himself in a better position to make a play. Nicholas Morrow put himself in position to make plays and blew it. Absolutely blew it. He was going up to try to tackle Deebo Samuel. See you later. Eli Ricks tried to tackle Jennings down the sideline, and Jennings just threw him out of his way. There was no better, I think, freeze frame of that game, or maybe GIF of that game, that just Jennings throwing Eli Ricks out of the way like, oh, look, a player that's not good enough to be playing in this game? See ya. Step aside, sir. I'll be in the end zone if you need me. So many different things went wrong in this game, but the worst part about it, look, obviously they lose. Right? This affects the standings, playoffs, and all that stuff. You don't have a lot of confidence, especially if you got to see the San Francisco 49ers again. You don't have a lot of confidence that the Eagles can beat that team. I still got confidence the Eagles are going to get the number 1 seed in the NFC. I still got confidence in that. I still think they can beat the Cowboys in Dallas. I said before this game it's going to be a troublesome game. The fact that they lose, oddly enough, gives me more confidence that they're going to win that game in Dallas, because now that game means even more. And the Cowboys, let's face it, when they play the better teams, they're not very good. This 49ers team, let's not forget, also beat the brakes off of Dak Prescott. At least, they were home for that one. They weren't on the road, the 49ers. But so many different things we can look at in this game. But I did not expect to talk about it being embarrassed by the San Francisco 49ers. I did not expect that in the least bit. I did not expect the Eagles to come out and completely lay an egg in this matchup. A couple of things that really jump out to me about this game. The number one thing is the awful tackling. The attempt at tackling, whether it was Nicholas Morrow, whether it was Eli Ricks, whether it was Darius Slay. And I'll give Darius Slay credit for this one thing. What a lot of guys, I think, would have hanged their head, Darius Slay did not. And I'm talking in particular about the Deebo Samuel touchdown, where he went right up the middle of the field. Nicholas Morrow had him stopped on the 1st and 10 around midfield, and Deebo Samuel just slipped right out of that tackle, that poor attempt at a tackle, and then took it to the house for the touchdown. And the only guy that was really there running with him, and there were some other guys there being blocked, but running with them was Darius Slay, who couldn't make a play. Deebo Samuel made it to the end zone before anything could happen, but at least he ran with him. And I'm at the point now where I'm watching the replay. I'm just happy to see effort. This is not going to be a good game. The tackling is the first thing that jumps out to me about this game because it was just abysmal. And yeah, if Shaq Leonard is still available, which he is, I don't see it as much worse. And I'll say this. I said this yesterday. I do not believe that Shaq Leonard's going to come in here and be some kind of savior to your linebacking core. I don't believe that at all. But here's what I do believe. I think he's better than Christian Ellis. I think he's a better option than Christian Ellis. If you can mix him in even in a rotation and you bring him here to Philadelphia, I like that more than I like Christian Ellis. I like that more than I like Ben Von Sumeren being activated for a game. I like a guy coming in here who, at least between the ears, knows where to be on the football field, and at least I know can make a tackle. I'll go with that guy. Not as a savior, but as an upgrade. And folks, this position for the Eagles right now, the linebacker position, it's not really hard to say, well, we should be a little bit, this team should do better than that. That's not at all, to use their word, the standard. So I would absolutely, Shaq Leonard, sure. Gonna be the savior? No, absolutely not. Better than what we just saw? Yeah, he'll be better than that. Number one, tackling. Awful. Atrocious. Number two, the Eagles over the last 5 weeks have been one of the best red zone teams in the NFL. The red zone woes came back to bite them in the old behind early in this game. I said going into this game, long, sustained drives are what you're going to need to win this game. The Eagles, in their first two possessions, ran 24 plays, 12 and 12. Beautiful, long, sustained, gorgeous, well-executed drives. Red zone, screeching halt. They get in the red zone, and they can't punch it in for the touchdowns. We say it all the time. Whenever there's a blown opportunity, especially in the early goings of a game, well, that's going to come back to bite them in the butt. Now, it ended up being a huge blowout, so maybe it didn't particularly come back to bite him in the butt, but it got bit him in the butt. Imagine you get into that sideline scuffle with Dom DeSandro, which is, I don't know, more Philly than the Philly special, I guess. Like, of all the things for the national media to run with, and I know Mike Florio wrote some rather aggressive words about Dom DeSandro and him being involved in that little altercation there. But probably a more Philly thing than the Philly special. Probably a more Philly thing than the Philly special, and the standing ovation that Dom got as he walked off the field. I'll say this about it. The Eagles, after that, they punched it in for the touchdown. They get the penalty. They get the penalty yards and all that stuff. They punched it in for the touchdown. All of a sudden, you're like, all right, maybe we got a little bit of a game here. And then the 49ers just answered right back. But at that particular point, I know it's a big talking point for a lot of people, but a lot of the national media outlets have already commented on it, as you would assume. I know Scott Van Pelt was talking about it, how they gave him a standing ovation. Well, because it's Philly, and if you know Dom, you know. All right. Yeah, I enjoyed it. I thought it was fun. Dom, and if I'm judging the situation, Dom got caught up in a moment. If I'm giving you the way I judge it, he got caught up in a moment. I think if you asked him right now, hey, how do you feel about that? I wish I didn't do anything. Yeah. If anything happens in front of you and you're there on the sideline, which you are every game, this is nothing new. I got into this with Mikey Mess yesterday during the postgame show. It's nothing new for Dom to be where he was. Dom shouldn't have tried to break up the fight, shouldn't have tried to touch anybody. He points to the referee, hey, this Greenlaw here, this should be a penalty. And they called the penalty, rightfully so. And then they got in each other's face, Smith and Greenlaw, and then Dom jumped in to try to separate them. The biggest mistake is Dom putting his hands on Greenlaw, and then pointing in Greenlaw's face. Then Greenlaw sticks his fingers in Dom's face, touches Dom's face, and then both people are ejected. Kyle Shanahan was beside himself that, quote-unquote, somebody who had nothing to do with the game, uninvolved was the quote, uninvolved in the game, is taunting players. Sirianni seemed like he apologized after that to Shanahan on the field when they were shaking hands after the game. The whole thing was just I think a really bad lack of judgment. And I don't blame him. Like, I'm not mad. I think it's a situation where you got caught up in the heat of the moment. And I think a lot of people would have gotten caught up in the moment. I don't have a problem with Dom being there. That's his job to be there. He's got to protect the head coach. That's the job. Protect the players, but you can't protect the players from other players. That's what the refs are there for. The minute he put his hands on Greenlaw, that's where I thought things started to escalate. And then that's BS from Dom. That didn't need to be said either. And then, of course, the touching of somebody else never leads to anything good in a heated altercation such as that one. The minute you put your hands on somebody, expect retribution. That's what especially if you're not a player. And I think this should go without saying, but I think Dom feels the same way. Like, Dom wasn't doing, what the hell? I don't think Dom was doing anything. I don't think Dom was doing anything in that moment that if he would have had time to think about it, he would do again. And when he's walking off the field, it wasn't like he was pumping up the crowd or anything. I don't think he liked being caught up in that situation. It was a fun distraction, though, for the ass whooping the Eagles were about to get after that. Continued ass whooping, I should say. Tackling, not being able to come in the red zone, distractions, I'll dial it up as that. And then this is the thing that absolutely hurt the most watching yesterday's game. This was the worst loss since Nick Sirianni's first 4 or 5 games as a head coach of the Philadelphia Eagles. When was the last time we said about a Nick Sirianni team, oh, damn, they don't look prepared to play? One of the things I bang the drum for what is it Nick Sirianni does here exactly? If he's not calling plays, he's doing the game plan, right? But during the game, what's he doing? What is it you say you do here? I was banging the drum for this simple fact that Nick Sirianni always has his team prepared to play. Never do they come out and look like they're unprepared to play. And even if they come out in the start of the game and look somewhat unprepared to play, they come out in the second half prepared to play, prepared to make a comeback, prepared to at least make a game of it. That does not apply in this game. There was a report from Jay Glazer that Nick Sirianni was showing footage to his team of all the San Francisco 49ers talking that smack. I have no problem with that. Again, it goes back to that disrespect theme that I was talking about last week, about how you can make any team believe in themselves if they believe that the other team on the other sideline doesn't respect them. Well, the San Francisco 49ers do not respect the Philadelphia Eagles. They do not give a damn about the Philadelphia Eagles and their then 10-1 record. All they wanted to do is come into your house as favorites, prove why they were the favorites, and also a little peace of mind for them. Let them know that, yes, in fact, they can beat the Philadelphia Eagles if Brock Purdy is actually playing quarterback. And the fact that the Eagles were not ready to play that game, regardless of motivational videos, and especially because of not being emotionally ready to play this game, coming up small, those were the most frustrating things about this game. It's a flat-out embarrassment, a good old-fashioned ass-whooping. That's what you saw in this game. And one of the things that really stings is the idea that this team was not prepared to play this game. I know we could focus on linebackers, and man, I thought the Eagles, they were obviously going to be outmatched in the linebacker game, goes without saying. But I thought this defensive line was going to come out and be throwing haymakers at Brock Purdy. Hassan Reddick was living in the backfield for the first quarter. All of a sudden, that's gone. Shanahan, this 49ers offense, starts running motion like crazy. They're bringing George Kittle out of the backfield. They're running him in motion. Same thing with Christian McCaffrey, Deebo Samuel, Jennings, all these guys. You're seeing motion, all this stuff. And there's virtually no movement for the Eagles to try to make up for any of it. Lost, head spinning as a defense. And then in the very rare occasion, goes back to the first thing I mentioned. In the very rare occasion they were there to make a play, they missed a tackle. Let's not, excuse me. A lot of football talk the last couple of days, guys. The other thing, the last thing that is so unbelievably frustrating in this is that this was the biggest game of the year. We watch a whole season. When your team is a Super Bowl contender, which the Eagles are, when your team is a Super Bowl contender, you really look forward to the games that are against the best teams. The classic term is measuring stick. It's a measuring stick game. I can't think of a better way to measure how good you are than facing the other best team, at least in your conference. I mean, it was good to face the Miami Dolphins and be able to take it to the Dolphins. It was good to play the Chiefs and be able to beat the Chiefs and make plays, clutch plays against the Chiefs, even though the Chiefs, wow, what a humdinger of a game that was last night in Lambeau. We'll get to that a little bit later. But this was the Cowboys even, measuring stick game. But this game against the San Francisco 49ers, unquestionably the best team, other than the Eagles, going into the playoffs. And to this point this season, the best team in the NFC other than the Eagles. This was the opportunity for the Eagles at home to prove that they were still the better team. It wasn't just that their record was better. They were, in fact, the better team. This is what they did in yesterday's game. Just to put it in perspective for you, how terrible today's game was. Last night's game, excuse me. This was the largest road win against a team that had the best outright record in the NFL since the 1970 merger. The New York Jets, they were able to beat the Tennessee Titans in 2008 by 21 points. That was the worst. That was the worst. The Eagles yesterday losing by 23 points to the San Francisco 49ers is now the worst road loss, or I should say home loss for the Eagles by a team with the outright best record in the NFL. So essentially, the lone first place team in the NFL has never lost at home as bad as the Eagles lost yesterday. Since the 1970 merger. Love Nick Sirianni, love Jalen Hurts, love what Sean Desai has done this year. I'm probably a bigger Brian Johnson fan than most people. Everybody sucked. Don't try to single anybody out. Don't tell me about referees. Don't tell me about just regular old play calling. The one thing that really pissed me off, I will say this, the thing that really pissed me off as far as play calling went, and it wasn't even play calling as much as it was decision-making by Nick Sirianni, and this is 1,000% Nick Sirianni. This is not Sean Desai. This is not anybody else. This is 1 bazillion% on Nick Sirianni, was the 4th and 2 situation, and they decided to punt. They decided to punt. Now, they were in their own territory, and they decided to punt. You punt that ball, game's over. Oh, it's late in the third quarter. You still have a whole fourth quarter. Nick Sirianni says Nick Sirianni said after the game there was still a whole hell of a lot of football to play. No, there wasn't. At that point, the San Francisco 49ers. So let's live in the world where the Eagles go for it for a second. Let's just live in this parallel universe for a second where they go for it in that 4th and 2 late in the third quarter, and they don't get it. Oh, that's stupid. That's a panic move. No, that ain't a panic move. That's an appropriate move. You were getting your tails handed to you. To that point in the game, the 49ers had scored on 4 straight drives. And now you're going to give them the ball back? No. I was shocked that big ball Sirianni, I don't know, we've never called him that, but he's going for it 4th down as many times as he has. I guess he's earned the right. He did not go for it in that situation. Oh, it's a panic move. And not at all a panic move, an appropriate move. And every once in a while, you got to do something that might be, is that panicking? No, this is an appropriate move. And the fact that he didn't go for it there, I was like, oh, they just lost. Barring a Brock Purdy interception, a Christian McCaffrey turnover, drop, the fumble. Yeah, no. Eagles played a clean game as far as that was concerned, but they didn't get any takeaways. They weren't able to force the ball out. And in a way, I was like, yeah, just concentrate on getting the ball carrier down. After a while, I was like, forget about even going for the football. Just try to get the ball carrier down, please. I'll just take a tackle. Can't remember the last time I was like, I'll trade up a fumble or a takeaway right now for just making sure that guys are tackled before they get to the first down marker. I digress. The thing that stung the most of all the things that were terrible about this game, I can't remember a game where I wanted, and this includes Cowboys games, I can't remember a game where I wanted the team to win more for the fans than anything else. Like, call me crazy, but the Eagles losing to the 49ers yesterday does not mean that they're no longer going to be the number one seed in the NFC, the National Football Conference. One does not mean the other. It certainly helps the cause, but doesn't mean that necessarily the Eagles are going to lose the number one seed. But here's what could have been won yesterday, and this is what really stings. I've never wanted to see the Eagles win a game solely for the fans, more so than I wanted them to win this game yesterday. And when they didn't punch the ball in for their first two trips and their first two possessions on 12-play drives, and they weren't able to get into the end zone, that's where I really started to get worried that they weren't going to deliver this win for us, the fans. That's where I started to get really worried. Because we've listened to this BS from 40 Winers fans since the NFC Championship game. A little less than a year ago. And this whole time, flapping your gums, Brock Purdy, and blah, blah, blah. First off, now that the 49ers have beaten the Eagles does not mean that they would have beaten the Eagles then. But if you're a 49ers fan, it sure makes you feel a hell of a lot better about it. Oh, look at what we did this time. Oh, we should have done this if Brock Purdy was healthy. We'd been in the Super Bowl. We would have beat the Chiefs. Yeah, sure, maybe. But that's also a fantasy right now because that's not what happened. But listening to all that jive, listening to all that talk, listening to all that BS, all that lack of respect, all that revisionist history, all that shoulda, coulda, woulda, really got annoying. And this was the perfect example for the Eagles. Oh, and all the while, the Eagles still put up 31 points. And last time I checked, Brock Purdy wasn't playing linebacker or safety or anything like that for the 49ers. So the Eagles offense put up points on what was the best defense in the NFL at the time. I wanted the Eagles to win this game for the Philadelphia fans more so than any game I've ever watched. More so than any Cowboys game, anything like that. Because the Cowboys, to me, are still an adorable little story that everyone looks at and goes, oh, the Cowboys, America's team. Nuh-uh. And then the ratings go crazy. But for me, I just did not want the Eagles to lose this game yesterday solely for the fans. Now, let's address this before we get to any post-game comments made by Nick Sirianni, A.J. Brown, and Jalen Hurts. Let's get into this conversation here. It's only one game. Have you heard that yet? It's only one game. If you go into the office today, if you're on a Zoom call today, if you're at work and someone goes, it's only one game, I want you to get into go as close to their face as possible and say, congratulations, you know math. They played one game last night. They didn't play two games, so don't come in here with that. It's only one game. I understand that there's not a point system for beating better teams, at least not one that is solidified, at least not one that's in the standings. Like, okay, well, this point, they beat the 49ers beat the Eagles. The Eagles were 10-1. That's 5 points because it was the best record in the NFL. I understand that's not a thing, okay? So let's just throw the one-game thing out the window for just a second, okay? Because I hate that argument. Oh, just one game. No. What this could be is the Eagles beginning a slide. Now, after this, they got the Cowboys in Dallas. They got Seattle in Seattle. And then they got 3 games that they better damn well win. 2 against the Giants, 1 against the Cardinals in between those two to wrap up the season. It's just one game. Sure, now it's just one game. But it's up to the Eagles to make sure that this is it. Like, all right, we got our tails handed to us. They'll come up for any justification or try to learn from it, as Jalen Hurts says, and they'll try to move on from it. Show me it's just one game. Show me when we look back and when the season's over and the Eagles have the number 1 seed, that's just one game. Because if they don't nip it in the bud right now, it's not just one game. You know what it is? It's the beginning of the slide. It's the beginning of they were great, and then they sputtered towards the end. They hit some road bumps, and man, they went off course. This is what it could be. It's what it could be. But at the end of the season, The Eagles solidified the number 1 spot in the NFC, first round bye, home field advantage, all that stuff. Then you can look back on it and go, oh, it's just one game. It was just one game. It's just one game. And then maybe the 40, you don't even see the 49ers in the postseason. But for me, I can't go with the just one game argument now. I'll tell you it's just one game when the Eagles beat the Cowboys, when the Eagles beat Seattle, when the Eagles beat the Giants, when the Eagles beat the Cardinals, when the Eagles beat the Giants again. That's when I'll go back on it's just one game. So for the people in the office, the people you know, the people in your circle, right? People in your text chain, it's just one game. Yeah, let's hope so. And not, it was just the first game of a 3-game losing streak. It's the first game of back-to-back losses against teams that are both vying for the spot you have right now, which is the top team in the NFC. So, yeah, let's just cross our fingers for a minute that this is just one game. But it's not about that right now. It's about making sure you handle your business against the Cowboys, making sure you handle your business against the Seattle Seahawks, and making sure you don't play down to your opponent, whether it's Tommy DeVito, Kyler Murray, or anybody else. Do not play down to those guys because you're looking to lock up the number 1 spot. And by the way things are shaking out right now with the Eagles at 10-2 and everybody else at 9-3, I'd like to see the Eagles make sure that they can round out or finish off the rest of this regular season with that top spot. It looks like they're going to have to play every damn game until then. Let's get into some of the post-game comments from yesterday. First off, Nick Sirianni right out of the gate. Very open with the media and the fans when it came to if there was anything the Eagles did well yesterday.
Yeah, we didn't coach good enough. We didn't play good enough. It's as simple as that. And why do you not do that? Well, you got to give credit to them too. That's a really good football team, and you don't come out and play your best game against the guys that they have and the coaches that they have, it's going to look like that. And so we got to coach better, we got to play better, and we got a lot to clean up.
Boy, do they. I appreciate at least the honesty in all of it. They have a lot to clean up. What I didn't hear anything about was the only question I heard about preparation for this game and getting the team focused was from our friend John McMullen, who simply asked a question about this team, seeing the highlight reels of the 49ers talking trash on them. Other than that, what was the prep? Were you prepared to play this game? Sure didn't look like it. But bottom line is they just weren't good enough. You just heard them there. So here's a question. I am not using this, and I am a believer in fatigue more than most people. This is not an excuse. Disclaimer, disclaimer, disclaimer. This is not an excuse. This is trying to understand how the best team in football just got destroyed. Not lost in a close game, destroyed by the San Francisco 49ers. A very good football team. I'm not discrediting them. Credit where credit's due. They dominated the Eagles yesterday. No excuses about it. But if I'm really looking for, if the Eagles face them again, all right, cool. Will it be the schedule not catching up with the Eagles? Will the Eagles be well rested? All that stuff. I'm not gonna rest on that laurel. Okay. So after the game, Nick Sirianni was asked about 3 games in 13 days. Yeah. The weather conditions that they had played in those other games, those 2 previous games, the overtime, the amount of snaps, all that stuff. Nick Sirianni was asked about the possibility of fatigue factoring into this game, and I appreciate his answer.
No. Again, everyone at this time of year is going to be, tired and all those different things. We won't use that as an excuse. I know we played a lot of snaps, but we just again didn't coach well enough, didn't play well enough today.
Thank you. No excuses. We're not going to be like the 49ers fans until we see the 49ers again, whenever that is. Maybe it's in the playoffs. Maybe it's the NFC Championship game again. Maybe it's in San Francisco. It makes me want to vomit. But we're not going to use any excuses. No. Eagles got beat by the better team yesterday. Doesn't mean exactly they're going to lose out on number one spot. Doesn't mean they're going to lose to San Francisco in the playoffs. But as far as beating San Francisco in the playoffs, oh, yeah, yesterday did not make me feel more confident. I'll say that much. Finally, I want to get to this. Last thing from Nick Sirianni. The Dom DeSandro situation on the sideline. I think it was a heated battle type thing. I had no problem with Dom being there. Dom's always there. That's nothing new. It wasn't like Dom was, I said this yesterday, it wasn't like Dom was on the other end of the sideline and came sprinting down to start a fight or anything ridiculous like that. He was right there. Two players started to get into it. He tried to separate them. Probably a mistake. Definitely a mistake. When you put your hands on another player or on a player and you're not a player. And then the back and forth obviously ensued. Nick Sirianni on Dom's ordeal.
What was my reaction to that? Yeah, we just saying that just knowing we had to move on and play the next play. And that's all we were trying to do in that scenario is move on, getting the ball down inside the 10 or the 12-yard line or something after the personal foul, and just regrouping and get everybody going and play the next play, just like we do when we have a bad play, a good play, bad game, good game. We're gonna have to pick ourselves up off the mat, just this week, going into this week as well.
Down on the mat, certainly. It's one of those things where obviously the Eagles, I think, are going to release a statement. I think there might even be a statement from Dom, or at least a quote from Dom on the situation, because this is getting so much national media attention. But the bottom line is, I just chalk this up to a guy that's looking to defend the Eagles, who is team security, and overstepped in a plausible way. Again, if it's just something egregious like running across the sideline from one end to the other to break something up, that's a little much. But it happened right there in front of him. I could see how it would happen. If you've never been in a heated situation, the way you react might surprise you. Might even surprise yourself with the way you react in a heated situation. Heat of the moment, heat of battle. I didn't think it happened. Let's flip it over to Jalen Hurts now and what was going on with Jalen yesterday. First off, left the game for a little bit with a concussion. He was evaluated for a concussion, came back to play. Here's how that process went.
It was obviously an assessment in that moment, and everybody was doing their jobs and doing their roles, and I was able to come back when everybody felt like I was ready to.
Was it important for you? I mean, I think it might have been a 2-touchdown, maybe even a wider than that when you came back in. Was it important to you just to come back to show everybody you were okay?
I'm about showing anybody anything. It's more so the game's not over. So, just trying to keep fighting.
I appreciate that he was trying to keep fighting. And, Marcus Mariota warming up on the sideline, then Marcus Mariota taking snaps from Jason Kelsey, then Marcus Mariota in the game. And I'll tell you this much. Of the, 4 or 5 snaps that Marcus Mariota was out there for, of that, he might have saved the tush push. He might have saved the brotherly shove. Yeah, you saw the report, Diana Rossini putting it out there that Roger Goodell does not like tush push, wants to ban it. Well, if Marcus Mariota can do the tush push, then everybody should be able to do the tush push. And maybe that's maybe a little silver lining in it right there. But in all seriousness, one of the other things Jalen Hurts got into yesterday was the standard. And the Eagles have not played to the standard this year. Even going into this game, according to Jalen Hurts, they hadn't played to the standard. Maybe the Miami Dolphins game, they played to the standard. Maybe the Buccaneers game, maybe that was the standard. Those are 2 most convincing wins of the season, really. And still, I don't think they played to the standard, but maybe that's as close to the standard as they're going to get. So Jalen Hurts was asked about what you take away from this win, what you take away from this loss, and what goes on your head surrounding this loss.
Win, find ways to win. That's always the mentality. That's always the approach, and I think this is a moment where you go back and you reflect on it, you learn from it like every win, and, you treat them all the same. When you win or when you lose, it's about what can I learn from this. So, the process remains the same in terms of how we respond and how we approach it. Just have to be self-critical, as we always are, and analyze everything as it's supposed to be and respond.
All right. I'm going to go ahead and hope that that's the case, that they're able to respond, that they're able to bounce back, that they're able to not hang their heads, they're able to learn from it. Can Zach Cunningham come back as soon as possible? By the way, I don't think Zach Cunningham is some savior either, but I know he's better than what they have right now. Shaq Leonard signing here would be better as a better guy to have as a linebacker than, Christian Ellis or Ben von Sumeren active. If the Eagles are trying to win a Super Bowl, it's not growth time. It's not, well, no. We're going to get the startup cost of Christian Ellis out of the way. Nope. Not right now. Not right now. Not when the Super Bowl is in your sights. Not when you're truly competing for a Super Bowl. And yeah, I'm still saying that after last night's shellacking. I'm not gonna let that game yesterday all of a sudden just take all the air out of the balloon. Has it let some air out of the balloon? Oh, hell yeah. I'm not completely crazy. But yeah, you can't watch a team like that yesterday get beat like that and go, oh, yeah, no, everything's fine. Everything is not fine. The mistakes that we had talked about leading into it, the standard, if you will, that the Eagles say they still haven't played to yet. This was the game, more so than any other game. The mistakes you made in this game, and this is the game we're talking about, by the way. I know everyone wants to look at the 17-game schedule and look at those games and go, oh, you win. But when we judge wins, we're not just judging how the Eagles beat the Buccaneers. Okay? We're not just judging how the Eagles, for instance, beat the Commanders twice. We're not just judging that individual game. We're taking how they played in that game, and we're saying, can you take their play out of this game, put it in this game against this better team, and still expect that team to win? This was the game. Games like this throughout the schedule, whether it was the Dolphins, whether it was the Chiefs, whether it was the Cowboys, or whether it was this San Francisco 49ers team. This was the biggest game on the schedule. This was the best opponent on your schedule. And you went and you took how you played in some of those other games and you put it in this one without being able to cash into the red zone, particularly, not being able to tackle, not being prepared to play, trying to rally late in the game and come back. And all the criticism we had in those other games all reared its ugly face in this game. Finally against an opponent. I say finally like I was excited to see it, but it actually happened against the opponent you could least afford to make those mistakes against. So that's why, they won, did they? Oh, yeah, that's great. But the NFL is not about, beating the Commanders in week 4, all right? Sure, you stack the wins, you hope for the best playoff positioning. Absolutely, no one's ignoring that. But when you're a team like the Eagles and you're coming off a Super Bowl appearance, and the main thing is winning the Super Bowl, then you can't just go, well, we won, so everything's fine. No, everything's not fine because it's all about games like yesterday. That's what it's really all about. If you really recognize what the Eagles are, which is a Super Bowl contender, one of the best teams in the NFL, sure as hell today, not as good as the 49ers. But if you look at this Eagles team and you're being honest with yourself and you're comparing them to the standard, which is a Super Bowl championship, you can't tell me that they played this entire year, despite even being 10-1 going into yesterday, that they played this entire year looking like a Super Bowl champion. And then what happened? You finally played a team that wanted all the smoke. And I don't even mean any extracurriculars. I don't mean any trash talk. I don't mean any storylines. I mean in talent and play. The things that matter the most. And that talent goes to the coaching staffs and the players as well. It all caught up with you yesterday. The mistakes caught up with you yesterday. And there's no excuses out there for it. You just got your asses beat. Plain and simple. One last thing. A.J. Brown, after the game, I think you can hear this. I thought A.J. Brown was great with his honesty yesterday. Here he is.
It's really been a loss like this, in this fashion. How do you get by it? How do you get over it so quickly?
How you get over it? Yeah, sure. You have no choice. Move around and be sad and be mad at yourself about it. But We got a big opponent coming up next week in Dallas on the road. You gotta put your big boy pants on, you know? It's life, you know? Everything gonna go your way every single time. If you think you're gonna go out there and just win in life every single time without bluff, it's not gonna happen like that, so, you know.
How much can this be a chip on your shoulder going into next Sunday night?
Yeah, I don't need a loss to have a chip on my shoulder, you know? I wake up with a chip on my shoulder. So I'm not motivated by a loss, so.
All right. Well, he's motivated. Anyway, doesn't need a loss. He wakes up with a chip on his shoulder. Before I get into the chat check, let me tell you wonderful people about the great people at Game Time, the Game Time app, gametime.co. Look, we all want to go to big games. We all want to go to big events. We all want to go to big concerts, comedy shows, whatever the case may be. Game Time is where to go. And right now you can use promo code Farzy for $20 off your first purchase. Huh? How about that? Game Time app is where it's at. You can trust it. You can preview your seat, and you know when you walk up to the door, you're going to have it right there, a good, legit ticket ready to go. Easy to use as well. You can browse through the entire Game Time app, and you can talk about awesome. Oh, you want to go to events? They got all the events, man. Game Time app is where it's at. GameTime.co as well for more information. They're absolutely obsessed with finding you the best ways to save money on tickets and get you the best tickets available. Game Time has deals on tickets right up to the start of the event. They have last-minute ticket sales as well. Even an hour after it starts, it's the place to find last-minute seats. Find exclusive flash deals and sponsored deals on tickets for football, baseball, basketball, concerts, comedy, theater, and so much more. Also, zone deals. You pick the section. Game Time picks the seats for big time savings. Game Time app for any event is the event, and the Game Time app is the app to go to for tickets. Make sure you use promo code Farzy. That's promo code Farzy. When you download the Game Time app, you create an account, use promo code Farzy for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, use promo code Farzy. That's Farzy for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed with the Game Time app. GameTime.co as well. Also, don't forget about our presenting sponsor, the wonderful people at MyBookie. Yesterday, a little bit of a rough day for old Farzy on MyBookie. Thank you very much, Eagles. Womp, womp. But you can still use promo code Farzy, and you can get great deals with promo code Farzy, especially $1,000 redeemable cash bonus when you sign up using promo code Farzy today at the amazing MyBookie.ag, MyBookie app. Download it to your phone. You can bet on anything, not just sports, by the way, not just baseball, not just basketball, not just hockey, not just the NFL, but you can bet on anything, TV shows, politics, bet on it all with the amazing, the incredible MyBookie, MyBookie.ag. Best part is you don't have to be a sports whiz. Like I said, TV, politics, anything with the MyBookie app. Bet on anything, anytime, anywhere, only with MyBookie, and use promo code Farzy at sign up for your redeemable cash bonus up to $1,000. Check out the amazing people, MyBookie. Let's get into the chat check, see how you people are doing on this awful, horrendous, horrible morning. Thanks, Eagles. April, good morning. I hope this loss will motivate them for the Cowboys game. I think it will, and I hope it will. Take the L, and let's move on from it. Sean Kilrain, that's the only way to do it. Fuji! Welcome back, Fuji. Nice to see you, brother. Joe, what's going on? Wipe up tears. It's Dallas week. There you go. Put your big boy pants on, according to A.J. Brown. Couldn't have said it better myself. Ryan Campbell, nah, we lose to Dallas and Seattle. Wow, thanks. Professor Dutch, good morning. Love our lines. Nolan Smith over Brian. Oh, Brian Branch. Good God. Ryan, you had to. You had to, didn't you? April, Big Dom is always there, but wish she had stayed out of it. I agree. I think that's a good way to put it. Sean Kilrain, what's going on? April, though. Seth was fired up last night. He absolutely was. Mark's going to make me lose my job today. Sorry, April. I'm going to flip over to Jacob's chat today. The Jacobs chat. What's going on? Dynamic. What's going on? We got spanked. Yes, that happened. Babs. Eagles beat San Francisco without them having a quarterback. Hurts was there last night and got humiliated. Hurts was awful with those, especially those two sacks. That one slip sack in particular, that was terrible. Twiz, what's going on? I see you with the 49ers logo. That's terrible. Daz, what's going on? Pasquale, what's up? I don't see. Where's 49? I thought 49ers dude was coming after me today. No. All right, fine. Thought I was gonna give you your flowers today, as they say. Vibes guy, this is still football. Winner team's gonna get it. Their linebackers, running backs still matter. I know. Hurts wants to play hero ball. I don't agree with that. I just think he was terrible yesterday. I think the whole team was terrible yesterday. Philly Bob, what's up? Daz, what's up? Twiz, what's up? Thanks, everybody in the chat. Nice to see you, as always. Don't forget about the great people at Sky Motorcars, skymotorcars.com. Ladies and gentlemen, that's the show today. Appreciate you. Jim Hyden produced the program. This one sucked. Be back with you guys tomorrow, hopefully with some uplifting news about maybe the Eagles upgraded the linebacker position. Have a great rest of your day, everybody. See you.